with tomorrow's news today. This is Headlines with a Voice.
Yeah. It's a car. All right. Well. Hello and welcome to the Lockhart Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Felicia Lockhart. And there's so much going on right now. I did not want to do a very long intro. And I really don't even know where to start because there's so much going on. I mean, gee whiz, you take a day and a half off and then you come back and it's just like mayhem. Oh boy. Well, let's just start right here because a couple of days ago, you may or may not remember one Hilary Clinton coming out saying, hey, be prepared. There's going to be an October surprise. And here we are on the brink of the October surprise. But I really don't know that that's what it is. And by that, I mean, we're hearing a lot about Mr. Emhoff, hearing a lot about Kamala Harris's husband and some of the things that's being said about him, about his ex-wife, about the nanny, about him allegedly hurting a former girlfriend, slapping her when she was outside of a theater with him in a foreign country. And a bunch of stuff is being said. Now, we're also hearing that we're pretty much close to being out of money there for the state of North Carolina and any other emergency that we may have here in the United States, simply because allegedly, and I'm saying allegedly, even though I've got the clips of Mayorkas and all of these other people, I'm just touching base on what it is that's going on, okay? We are at the point where they're stating that FEMA just might not be able to handle hurricane season. We have a bevy of people, and I do mean a lot of folks that are in North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, down here in the South, albeit very red areas. I mean, you'd be, hard pressed to find somebody who did not understand or did not know that a lot of these areas are red areas. And I'm reminded of back a while ago where they were having a local election. I think it was our local elections right before they went in to see who they were going to nominate as the Democratic candidate. You guys may have to remind me of the time frame it was, but I'm making the point to say that in Tennessee, I remember a terrible hurricane went through an entire alley of individuals who would have been voters or where this guy had a very strong hold there. And that was Bernie Sanders. So those people could not get to the polls. So this reminds me of that and that whole area. In tandem with the fact that we understand that area of North Carolina itself has a high amount of lithium. So we've got that. I don't want to even deal with the travesty that's going on right now overseas with Russia and going on with Iran, and going on with Israel. The EU giving out the statement saying that, the EU should prepare for war with Russia is what their new commissioner says. There's so much stuff right now. Somebody's not going to be happy. So let's just get into it. Let's just get into it. Okay. Somebody's not going to be happy if we don't cover a certain thing. But really, how could you? How could any of us? How could any of us cover everything? The first thing that I want to do is welcome all of my mods that are here today to help us keep everything clear and clean. I do see my brother Michael. Hello, Michael Powell. And I appreciate you for being here, kind sir. Looks like you're the Lone Ranger. Hopkinson, Sarah, Sharon C., Red Door Woman. I want to welcome all of you and thank you. For those of you who are listening in the podcast form, I want to welcome you because I know a lot of folks are usually working in their shops or they're driving or they're doing something. And so they're not always able to listen, but I want to let you know that I appreciate you before we get into all of this. All right, let's just go with it. We got a warning from the woman that is Hilary Clinton just a few days ago. Now, the ironic piece about that was, I was wondering at that time, was she giving everybody the warning simply because she wanted us to be prepped? I think so. That's exactly what I think. I think that it was exactly that. So, a couple of days ago, Clinton warns of an October surprise that will distort and pervert Harris. But I don't think this is it. I think that a lot of these things that came out in August about her husband, because a lot of this stuff has come out in August, a lot of this stuff came out a long time ago, sort of slipped up under the radar. But I do believe that at the precipice of of folks grabbing this in October, that Clinton was there. Okay, I believe she sort of helped push this along because you're going to think, oh, case in point, this is the October surprise. But no, just might not be. It might not be. Former Secretary of State Hilary Clinton warned of an October surprise that will distort and pervert Vice President Harris. Now, let's just put it all out there. Let's just put it all out there. There's been a lot of stuff that's been going on throughout this campaign and before that distorted the vision of the American people as it relates to Trump. Lots of stuff that he had going on. Lots of stuff. Every time we turn around, he was in court. Kamala Harris as well. There's a lot of stuff that she allegedly did in her past. You see? So we've got to look at that side by side. Let's juxtapose both of them. They both have a lot of stuff. That's why I don't think this is it. But let's just go on ahead. She says that there will be a concerted effort to distort and pervert Kamala Harris, who she is, what she stands for, what she's done, Clinton said during an interview with Firing Line with the host Margaret Hoover. She pointed to the 2016 Pizzagate conspiracy. Hey, I'm going to just read it, y'all. Hey. The door is open and you know I can walk in it, but I'm just trying to be a young lady today. We just going to keep reading what the writer wrote. She pointed to the 2016 Pizzagate conspiracy theory that surrounded the end of her presidential campaign against Donald Trump. She says, quote, the crazy story about me running a child trafficking operation out of a basement of a pizzeria, closed quote, Clinton said. The comment evoked laughter from the crowd. Pizzagate, as the child sex trafficking conspiracy became known, and it resulted in a North Carolina man opening fire on a Washington, D.C. pizzeria in 2016. So she says, quote, "Don't laugh," Clinton told the crowd. It was a huge story. And it got one young man in North Carolina to get in his car with his, assault rifle and drove up to liberate these non-existent children and shoot up a pizzeria in Washington, D.C. I am going to say to my mods who are here, please regulate the chat when it comes to this topic. I do not need a lot of stuff being put in the chat that will prevent everybody else in the future from seeing it, right? Because that's what they do. They slow it all down, and we know this, so let's play the game the right way. Now, she goes on to say, this is dangerous stuff. It starts online, often on the dark web, and then it migrates. It's picked up by the pro-Trump. This is what Clinton is saying. It's picked up by the pro-Trump media, and then it's reported on by everybody else, which makes sure it has about 100% coverage and people believe it. Now, I've never known any of the Trump supporters to have that kind of support, but okay. I get it. Now, she warned that ahead of this year's election, the digital airwaves will be filled with misinformation that can take on a life of its own. Clinton argued that the press needs a consistent narrative about the danger that Trump poses to the country in the coming weeks. She warned that foreign actors like Russia, Iran, and China just might fuel disinformation on social media, seeking to influence the election. She said that she believes a story about Harris is coming. So she says, quote, "I don't know what it's going to be," she said, of the October surprise. And she continues with, "But it will be something, and we'll have to work very, very hard to make sure that it is exposed as the lie that it is." Now, that came from Hilary Clinton herself. She said that. You saw that. We just read it. There's more. There's so much more. Let's get into so much more. Does anybody remember Rona Barrett? Because parts of this makes me feel almost Rona Barrett-esque. Rona Barrett-esque. Because here comes a story. Again, I don't believe that these are the stories that we should be prepped for as it relates to Kamala Harris. I just don't. But we're going to get into it because Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, of course, cheated on his wife with daughter Ella's nanny. There it is. With daughter Ella's nanny. Najee Nyler is what it says. And got her allegedly, I'm going to say allegedly. Okay? Allegedly, he got her pregnant. Kamala Harris's husband's first marriage ended after he got his ex baby nanny pregnant. This is from the Daily Mail, and they can exclusively reveal. The second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, cheated on his first wife, Kirsten, with a blonde nanny, allegedly. Also, who taught their children, taught at their children's pricey private school, allegedly. The woman, Najee Naylor, 47, did not deny the story when she was approached by the dailymail.com at her home in New York's Millionaire's Playground, the Hamptons. Remember this, you guys, we got to scroll all the way past this stuff. That's when they have a lot of videos and stuff. Okay. Now, a close friend with direct knowledge of the affair and the pregnancy told the Daily Mail that Naylor did not keep the child, though her social media shows a video of a mysterious baby named Brooke back in 2009, the year the baby would have been born. Another friend, Stacey Brooks, who mothered twin boys around that time as Naylor was expecting, also did not deny any of the claims, but said that she would not divulge further information without Naylor's permission. The incendiary news is said to be causing panic in Harris's campaign, just as she has overtaken Donald Trump in several polls, and as she ramps up her final push. Pardon the pun, I'm sure is what they should have done. I don't think they meant pun in this case. Her final push to win over voters in November. Now, if that's homegirl, if that's her, he's an easy brother to please. If that's her today, he was not hard to please. My Lord. So this must be her from before. I don't know. This must be the kids and the ex. I don't know. Yeah, that must be his ex-wife. Pretty lady. Emhoff spokeswoman Liza Acevedo did not immediately reply to a request for comment, and Kristen Emhoff put her phone down when asked for a comment. Here's a question that they gave here, and I'm actually going to turn this into a poll for us. Yeah. Emhoff, 59, and the movie producer, ex-wife Kirsten, 57, ended their 16-year marriage in 2009 when she discovered the affair. The sources said their daughter Ella was 10 and their son Cole was 15 at the time. Sources claim that after the affair, Naylor had to leave her job as a teacher at the Willows, an elite private elementary school in Culver City, California. I know that area very well, where she had been teaching the Emhoff children and moonlighting as a nanny for the couple. Employment records obtained by thedailymail.com show that Naylor worked for the Willows in 2009. She is friends on Facebook with the current staff. Current tuition at that particular location? Current tuition fees at the kindergarten through 8th grade school range from $32,525 today to $41,535 today. I wonder what it was at there. Probably like what? Maybe 28 grand to maybe 35 grand. Who cares? None of us would ever do this, right? Nah. A mother who sent her children to the school before 2009 said she was aware of the affair, and though she was disgusted by Emhoff, she only had positive words for Naylor, who taught their children and nannied them on family vacations. Quote, She was a lovely person and a great teacher to my kids. The mother who asked to remain anonymous told thedailymail.com. I frankly don't, I'm not, look here, I'm not after this woman. I don't have nothing negative to say about this woman. What I will say is that when a person feels like they don't have anybody else, men can see that, people can see that, predatory type cats can see, woman may maybe look, maybe she's got a couple of extra pounds on her, maybe he feels like he can easily manipulate her. I don't know what was going on with this alleged affair, but I will say that she probably is a lovely person. And could that be his child? Well, because she is a lovely person, it more than likely is. It could be. I don't know. You know, I'm just giving my opinion. It could be because she probably felt like, hey, you know what? I'm going to give a scenario. Could not be true, but this is my scenario. I'm going to take them. Give me my take. She could have felt like I may never, ever have the opportunity to have a child, and I'm going to have this one. And she probably, went on about her business and stepped on. But is that the October surprise? I don't think so. Why? Because there's a lot of people on this planet who's had to deal with stuff like this. And I really don't think that this is going to prevent anybody who likes Kamala Harris from voting for her. I really don't. As a matter of fact, it may be what they think in their mind is the reason why maybe she didn't want to have any kids, because they got married. What, they got together in 15? She could have definitely had a late stage child. I think they got married in 15, didn't they? Yeah. So now another friend with with intimate knowledge of the scandal confirmed the affair with Emhoff, but told the dailymail.com that Naylor did not keep the baby. Well, that's what you say. Okay. That's what you say. And if that's the case, then Miss Naylor was getting a bit busy because there was a baby in 2009. But again, I don't think this is the surprise. This is her now. I should say her then. What we just saw is her. My goodness. Bless her heart. Bless her precious heart. You go through a lot of stress when you are pregnant. You go through a lot of stress when your heart is tied to the person you're pregnant with, irregardless to what the circumstance, the situation is. And it can take a toll on you physically. You start to see it in your physical presence. You see it in your ankles. You see it in your face. You see it in your neck. You see it everywhere, even your hair. Okay, especially when you're dealing with pregnancy. Now, I don't know what the deal is with this poor lady, but I tell you one thing. I don't think this is the October surprise. I just don't. I just don't. And I believe that the existence of a child is really, really, really not a big thing for us to throw apples at Kamala for. And I'm not voting for any of them, but I'm just giving you an honest opinion. Why? Because the baby did not ask to be here. And whatever the husband did, the former wife decided that a divorce was, would be a good resolve to the issue. And if there is a child that came from that situation, I don't think it's October surprisable. This lady could be taking care of somebody's baby right here based on the age that we just saw. This photo here, pretty young lady. She was a beautiful young lady. She probably had some thickness to her, but I don't see her as being a big slob or anything like that. This lady here is apparently either this is her currently, and she's taking care of a baby, or if this was immediately after the quote unquote alleged pregnancy, that could be the belly from the, having had a baby. I don't know. I just don't think that they should be dragging this lady through the mud. I really don't. In September of 2009, Naylor posted a video on Facebook to introduce three babies, Sawyer, Brooke, and George, with the caption, Baby Party. Sawyer and George are the boys of Brooks, who had been her close friend since childhood in Columbus, Ohio. Those children were born in July of 2009. The third child, Brooke, who appears slightly younger, does not appear to be Stacy's daughter and is not any of her later Facebook family photos. It's not in any of those photos. And it's unclear who Brooke's mother is. Another friend replied in 2009 video of the three babies, more pics, like give us more pictures, please. Now, when contacted by the Daily Mail and asked about the Emhoff affair, Brooks did not deny any of the information, but said that she would not comment further without Naylor's permission. She added that Naylor was a wonderful woman. A search of the Los Angeles County birth records show no registrations of a Brooke Naylor born in October 2000, born in 2008 or 9. There were no babies born with the last name Emhoff in the county in those 2 years either. What does that mean? Naylor's LinkedIn page says that she became the director of new business development at production company Broadway Video in 2009 11 and got her current job as senior director original entertainment acquisition development and audiobook company in 18. I still don't see, whew, boy, spitting image of her father. I still don't see what this lady has to do with any of Kamala's issues. And they're following this poor woman around. See, this is her here. Probably said she's sitting here at a pub trying to enjoy her life. Leave the lady a flipping alone. Leave her a flipping alone. Yeah, I said it. Yeah. And I know a lot of you guys are going to say, well, Felicia, how do you feel that way? I've seen a lot of your old videos where you're talking about, pregnancy, where you're talking about infidelity, where I'm talking about a lot of stuff. But that still does not mean that people have the right to run this lady, to run shots over her. That does not give anybody the right to do what they're doing to her. Or that boy going to fall off that bike one day, that child. So I don't think that it gives anybody any right to do what they're doing to her by dragging her through the coals. Okay, let's focus on the man, because that lady who divorced that husband, she had a covenant with him. Okay, they had a financial agreement, because that's basically when you get married, it's a financial agreement between the two people, right? One covers the other, and the government is involved. Yeah, when you get the piece of paper. But Naylor grew up in Columbus, Ohio. She studied at Auburn University in Alabama, and she moved to Los Angeles in her 20s. She's listed on residency records as living in New York from around 2011. She bought a waterfront house in the Hamptons 2021 for $855,000 with a $684,000 mortgage during the COVID pandemic. Boy, these people will sure enough get your business. The 4-bedroom, 3-bath refurbished barn is set away from the main road in Hampton Bays, far from prying eyes. Well, obviously not. Your eyes pried and found her. And is currently worth an estimated $1.4 million. One source claimed that Emhoff had a financial settlement with Naylor and that she left her school job due to the hushed up scandal. I don't want to read anymore, because we're focusing on this poor lady. Now, is this her? I don't know who this is. This is the ex-wife? I don't know. Is that the ex-wife? The divorce settlement that was done in Los Angeles County and shared the cost of a nanny, private tutor, private school fees. When the couple split in 2009, their daughter Ella was finishing the 3rd grade. Sources did say got nothing to do with Kamala's ability to lead. Okay? And I got to be fair across the board. This ain't got nothing to do with Kamala's ability to lead. So I'm going to say that ain't the October surprise. Nope, that's not it. Jen Psaki calling him, how he's reshaped masculinity. Social media people drug her through the coals, saying, you know what, you got a lot of nerve calling this guy, masculine. He's reshaped the perception of masculinity after he impregnated his baby, allegedly the nanny. All right. A lot of people were mad at her. I'm going to tell you, hey, guess what? That ain't the October surprise. Not at all. The October surprise is going to hit us, and when it does, we're going to go into our stories about North Carolina, which is where my heart is right now. But I believe that when we do finally hear the October surprise, it's going to blow all of our mind. We're going to be like, huh? What? Because this ain't a surprise. Him allegedly slapping the ex-girlfriend, that ain't no surprise, and that ain't got nothing to do with Kamala. It has nothing to do with Kamala. And I ain't a Kamala fan, but I'm not going to sit up here and play no games. I'm not going to sit up here and act like that's it. No. What I suggest is that our eyes remain peeled. Keep your eyes peeled, scouts. Well, Fema, according to reports, is running out of money. And here come that little boy down the road again. Here come that little old boy down the road again. Down the road again. Just can't wait till he falls off the bike again. Just slide a little bit. He fall down and slide and get back up and keep going. All right. So here we go. Let's see. Axios. No thanks. FEMA is running out of funding, DHS Secretary Mayorkas warns. Well, what are you warning us for? This was 4 hours ago. This is 4 hours ago. Yeah, 4 hours. So let's go ahead and change the view to this so that we can read it straight up. Straight up. Make sure you guys can still see it. Here we go, because you can't when you change it. There you are. Okay. FEMA is running out of funding, DHS Secretary Mayorkas warns. There he is. Didn't this cat get impeached? Am I even using the right terms? Somebody help me. Didn't he get him? Why are we still looking at his mug? Why does he still have a gig? Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas warned the Federal Emergency Management Agency does not have enough funding to cover the rest of the hurricane season. Here's the big picture. According to the article, Hurricane Helene carved a path of destruction through these 6 southeastern states, leaving unprecedented devastation, totaling tens of billions of dollars across communities, several of which officials said Thursday will need to rebuild. 200 people were killed due to the storms. And I'm sure there are more because, they've not a good count because they've closed down Asheville altogether and possibly other areas. So there's really not a real way to tell. But according to this, it says 200 people were killed due to the storm, which brought catastrophic flooding to coastal and inland towns, the AP reported. The Federal Relief Agency is extending aid in the form of food, water, generators, and monetary assistance, among other resources. So far, officials Thursday, FEMA has provided over $20 million in individual assistance. Here's what he's saying, quote, "We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have," Mayorkas told reporters on Wednesday, per multiple reports. And he continues, "We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season." The latest. Asked about Mayorkas' anticipated funding shortfall Thursday, FEMA Director of Individual Assistance Frank Martrenga said money is an important factor, but that the focus remains on assisting individual communities. "We know that the needs right now are big and still not fully stabilized," he added, saying the agency will continue to communicate its funding status to Congress. At the peak of Hurricane Helene, emergency officials said Thursday, 4.6 million customers were without power. That number is down to around 1 million across the Carolinas, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and Virginia, officials told reporters. But while restoration efforts are underway, some hard-hit areas were left decimated by Helene's path, meaning a full energy system or entire community rebuild may be necessary before residents can see power restored. Now, here is what they're saying. Many are being targeted to be restored by the end of this week. Ken Buell, the CESER Deputy Director for Response and Restoration at the Department of Energy, says, but then again, he says, there are some areas that were so hard hit that those estimated times for restoration could be fairly extended. The bottom line is that this is not the first time the government's disaster relief fund has faced monetary perils as the climate crisis deepens. Last year, FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell told a House committee that the agency has been strained as the number of costly natural disasters soar. So what others' stories are being reported is that the reason, in part, why FEMA doesn't have the money is because they were utilizing, by they, I mean the Biden administration, Biden-Harris administration. Okay, it's funny because she doesn't want to be affiliated with anything that was negative in his campaign. So now she sort of pulled herself away. But at the very top of, their administration, it was changed from the Biden administration to the Biden-Harris administration. So I'm going to say it the way they gave it to us. And that is the Biden-Harris administration had been using, allegedly, because what I saw, it ain't alleged. They were using a great portion of the money to fund the individuals they brought here by plane, by trains, by hook and by crook, the people that they were helping to feed. Now, there were a lot of NGOs, but we ain't talking about NGO money. We talking about your money and my money, the money that was supposed to be given into FEMA to help with circumstances exactly like this. And according to some reports, some of those reports are saying that the reason why FEMA is down on its luck right now is because of all of the money that the government has been doling out to illegal immigrants. Now, I don't know how this is going to play out, if anything, because this, to me, if I were a voter and I was looking at who I was going to vote for and I'm looking at her, this to me would give me pause. Why? Because unlike her husband's choices in bedroom bedfellows or, pillow talk puppies or whatever, this has everything to do with her, because these things happened on her watch. And the border was not monitored, although that was given to her as, something for her to do. It was not monitored. And he and she, and by he and she, I mean Biden, the Biden administration, he just landed today. They had to clear all of the airspace around the area so that he would be able to land and walk through. But nobody is getting any assistance. As a matter of fact, I want to give shout out to Brian. And I know that his channel is a different name now, but he covered something really good today. And it may have been today. I got the alert today, but he showed something really good, and that was the fact that they stopped people from being able to fly in and out of the area, even though there were some folks who had the ability to fly with a helicopter. It was 6 hours ago. It says cops and fire chief threatened hurricane rescue workers with arrest. And if you go on over there now, the channel is now called Here's the Deal. Here's the Deal. That's the name of the channel now. Here's the Deal. And I appreciate Brian's candor and the way that he has no fear at all. I mean, this guy has no flipping fear. He just says it the way that he means it. He says for what he sees, but on his channel, and I guess what I can do is just put the link down there. But he did a good job covering this and showing that there were people actually saying, no, you can't go through here with this helicopter that you have, even though you've got the credentials. You can't go through this area, and you can't save anybody else. You can't bring anybody else here that you've gone in to help. And I think that it's absolutely a nightmare. I really do. Let's go on ahead and take a gander at some of this, because I want us to look at it. I want us to really get a good idea. So hold on a second, you guys. I'm gonna pull up some stuff so that you can see it. I don't want to use Brian's work without his permission, but I will go to I will go here and I will look it up so that we can talk about this, because some of this stuff is covered by the news, and because it's covered by the news, we'll be able to look at it together. All right, let's see here. I wasn't planning on looking at any of this, but it's very heartbreaking to get just to get a gander of it. Okay, you can look at this. And I don't want to look at nothing contrived, but we're gonna go ahead on and check this out. I don't know if it looks like it's fake, I'm gonna pull off of it and go on somewhere else. So here we go. Let's take a gander at this. All right, missing persons. Let's take a look at this. This is from 18 hours ago. All right.
Carolina is Florida Congressman Corey Mills. He's been on the ground there for days, helping to deliver much needed supplies to those hard hit areas and evacuate some who are stranded. As you remember, he helped rescue Americans from war zones in Afghanistan, also Israel and in Haiti. Corey Mills, Congressman, welcome. Thank you for what you do for people in these situations. Tell us what you're observing there and what we all need to understand.
Look, if you're small, quickly or getting the necessary needs in here that the people were wanting. And so we delivered now about 5 tons worth of supplies, about roughly 10,000. We've actually transported about 12,000 pounds between the 2 helicopters that we brought in, much of which is the only place that you can get in is by rotary wing helicopter. So we've gone into Broad River, South Toe. We've gone into Banner Elk, Asheville, Burnsville. We've gone into Holler. We've continued to try and go to at least 5 or 6 different locations, either conducting search and rescue operations to drop SAR, to do health and welfare checks on family members who's gone missing, or even just doing distribution for Starlink systems so that we can get our missing persons report down. Because a lot of this, people just haven't heard from their family members for 2 and 3 and 4 days. We were able to successfully evacuate someone from Bailey, North Carolina to Johnsonville yesterday. 83-year-old man, yesterday was his birthday, was showing signs of heart attack or hypertension. So we were able to medevac him and get him out, but also delivering insulin, oxygen bottles. A lot of people, it's not just food and water and non-perishables, but it's medications that they're short on. So trying to fulfill those needs until the federal government can get up and do what they need to be doing.
So, Congressman, we got cut off a little bit at the top. Are you working with your private organization that you're part of? And what do you see in terms of federal help happening? Tell us the difference.
So that's really where the missing piece is the federal piece. And again, let's go ahead and point out the obvious, which is that FEMA had utilized a large majority of the personnel who should be here taking care of this to be replaced or repurposed, if you will, for immigration resettlement, when we need to be focusing on Americans and what's going on, whether it be in Maui, Palestine, Ohio, Florida, North Carolina, or Tennessee. But I'm actually working with great organizations like Mercury One, charity for Glenn Beck, Universal Air, as well as for Sentinel Foundation and so many others. This is a group project where Americans are coming together to answer the call for Americans when the federal government fails to act.
So we're hearing one of the most horrifying details is that it could be hundreds of people who are still missing, and we don't know if they are dead or alive or if they're hanging on to a boulder like that woman just described, which was so heartbreaking. What is your sense? Do you have any sense of that and that number?
Well, again, we've got about an estimate of around it's kind of a non-confirmed report of roughly 1,000 to 1,200 people still being listed as a missing person. A lot of that, I will tell you, as we get Starlink in place, and there's so many units here that's allowing individuals to start reaching out to their family members in other states, I think that missing person report will come down, and then we'll be able to really constantly go over, find those people around situations. The problem we have.
All right, it looks like they're having a little bit of problems there with that, but I found the story that I do want to take a look at, and it is of the father and son duo that are actually pilots and co-pilot, and they are going in and out of areas of North Carolina to see what they can do about lending a helping hand. And I just really honestly believe that if there's something that you can do, that it should be applauded and you should be allowed to do it. So here is the story. It comes from Queen City News. All right, so let's get into this.
Stories of survival are now being back to the mountains, where remarkable stories of survival are now being shared days after Helene wreaked havoc in North Carolina. But one Pageland man's efforts to help are now the source of controversy. He flew his own chopper on his own dime to help stranded victims, but that man says he abandoned his rescue missions after a fire official threatened to have him thrown in jail. Well, that man now wants answers and turned to Queen City News Chief Investigator Jody Barr to help figure out what went wrong here.
This is the original post that I was reading when I decided to go up and help. It's a long post, but she's saying that her kids and family and animals are trapped. No way out, no supplies, and the only way in or out is accessible by helicopter. Limited cell service and no water since Friday morning. I thought I have a helicopter and maybe I can help.
Jordan Sidham piled food and water into his helicopter Saturday and headed up toward Banner Elk, the only way through a mountain gap in Lake Lure.
This is the mountain valley that you would have to fly to get to Black Mountain, where we were escorting people out. this is a mountain range, and this is a mountain range. The only place to fly through with bad visibility, low cloud coverage, is Lake Lure.
The cries for help from people stranded without food, water, or electricity hit social media soon after the flooding last Friday.
But my parents are stuck there. Their address is Banner Elk. They are in the first condo. If you receive this, please give me a call back. Thank you.
Sidham's phone started lighting up on Saturday with people begging for help.
I mean, I could hear the desperation in her voice. This is multiple phone calls I've received like this, voicemails, text messages, and you could hear people desperate for help.
Sidham and his son rescued 4 people on Saturday and spent the night in a nearby pilot's lounge, then decided to fly again Sunday morning.
I spoke with my son, which is my co-pilot. I said, hey, do you want to go back out and try to help today? And his response was, there's so many messages, I don't think we can't not go help.
Sidham and his son were headed up to Black Mountain. Flight tracking shows no flight restrictions in place Saturday or Sunday morning when Sidham flew through the Lake Lure Gap. But that was all about to change. The Sidham spotted an older couple waving for help, then landed in what's left of their driveway.
Hey, I want you to let me get in. You step out and go out, help her in, put her bag in the back, get her strapped in. I'm going to take her down, come back. I'll take him, I'll come back, and then I'll get you, okay?
I originally left my son,
Because we are using this, I have to take a quick break to say that this does not belong to us. It is from Queen City News, and you will be able to find them here on YouTube. I just find it a travesty that they had any problem trying to help people, especially from individuals who were in the same field as this man is in. For anybody to dissuade him to help is really disheartening. And let's just finish and watching what it is that he encountered at this point.
Co-pilot on the side of the mountain. It was kind of unstable, so I didn't want to put more weight in the helicopter to lift back off. So I left my son with the other victim, and I was just going to take one person down at the time. And you could hear me in the video talking through with the victims and with my son what we're going to do.
3 minutes away, Sidham spotted a group of rescuers just down the river. He landed and found someone in charge.
Told him my background experience, law enforcement, firefighting, pilot. He immediately started helping with coordination. He gave me radio frequencies to coordinate with them on, set up a landing area for me to come back with the other victim. And in the middle of the whole conversation and then blocking the road off, I was greeted by the, at that time I didn't know, but Lake Lure fire chief or assistant chief maybe, and he shut down the whole operation. So at that point I felt like the conversation wasn't going any further. And again, he asked me to leave, and I said, hey, I have no problem getting out of your area. If that's what you want us to do, we'll leave, no issue. At that point, I asked him, what was the reason I had to leave them there? And he said, again, you're interfering with my operation. I just need you to get out of the area. I said, sir, I don't know where you were trained at, but I know how my training is, and I'm not going to leave personnel behind. I'm going back to get my co-pilot. He said, if you turn around and go back up the mountain, you're going to be arrested. I said, well, sir, I'm going back to get my co-pilot. I don't know what to tell you. And he said,
So don't forget that the co-pilot is his son. It's his child. And unfortunately, when somebody tells you that you're not going to be able to go back and save your child, you and I both know that if your parents or even an auntie or a godparent, you're going to go back in and get your relative and get your child. And I'm glad that he did.
I'm letting you know. And at that point, he waved for 2 law enforcement officers to come over and told me that again, if I go back up the mountain, I would be arrested.
He flew the 3-minute trip back, picked up his son, and left the woman's husband behind.
I'm sure he was flooded with emotion.
Now, can you imagine what type of cat that was down there on the ground that actually knew that he had to go 3 minutes away? He knew he was going to get his child. How could you stand there and allow your name to be dragged through the mud just for solidarity's sake? I would have said, well, you hurry up and go get your son and get her husband, and you guys hurry back and be as safe as you can. But I'm not going to be responsible for anything that goes wrong. I mean, I would have said whatever, but the point I'm making is, how do you look? How foolish does it look that you're literally standing there as if you're doing something so good? You're going to keep alleged rules, quote unquote rules, so much that you don't have any human decency or dignity? Boy.
and trying to rescue other people. And I just felt that it was best at the time to leave. So I did follow his instructions, and I had a conversation with the female victim before I left, apologized and explained. And she was standing there. She heard the whole conversation, and they were both very, very surprised, very upset. The husband, as I was leaving off of the side of the mountain at that point, separated from his wife, he was upset.
Bless his heart.
I can only imagine.
Sidham and his nearly 1,400 flight hours turned his chopper around and headed back to South Carolina, passing people waving for help along the way.
As I was actually leaving to go back to get my son, the original chief or captain that I spoke to, his crew and himself, they came back over and said, "Hey, man, we can't tell you to go get the victim. We can't even ask you to go get the victim, but we can tell you if you come back with the victim, we'll have you a designated landing spot, and they won't. We'll make sure they don't come over here."
So there was no flight restriction when you went in?
No flight restriction when I went in. It went in place 20 or 30 minutes after the confrontation with Mr.
You feel like that was coincidental, or do you think that was because of what happened?
I don't think it can be coincidental when there has not been one in place the day before doing rescue operations, the night of, the morning of, that took place after our altercation. I think there would have never been a TFR put in place had we not had that conversation.
And let's just look at something here, because this is a tragic situation, but this should be a clear indication to all Americans as to exactly what you could stand to go through and deal with if there was an even more catastrophic situation to hit an entire region. Think about that. Just think about that, because this is a localized situation. Imagine this being, beyond, the Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina. Imagine what type of tyranny would be exacted upon the citizenry if this small, compared to what we're describing, if something like that can happen with this isolated situation compared to what we're describing. Let's add Mississippi. Let's not just add the areas we've got, but let's just go ahead and add Mississippi. Let's add Arkansas. Let's add Oklahoma. Let's add Kentucky. Let's add parts of Texas. Let's add all of that. And imagine that whole entire area that we've described, including the areas that we already know about, having no water, having no lights, having no communication to the outside. And you've got a few citizens flying in from, say, Colorado, or maybe they're coming in from Ohio, or, they're coming down to help. And somebody tells them, you better not, or you're going to go to jail.
If I had to do it over again, I would have stopped and I would have rescued as many people until they decided they were going to arrest me.
Well, for now, we've chosen not to name that Lake Lure fire official because communications in and out of that town are still difficult. We want to include his side in this story, and if and when he responds to our messages, we will include that. The good news is I saw a video of a Coast Guard helicopter landing in Lake Lure this morning, so hopefully some of those mountain rescues are underway today. From Pageland, Jody Barr, Queen City.
Okay, let's take a look at another story. This one's coming out of Georgia, and let's just look at that. Okay, here we go.
In Kite, Georgia, residents are hoping FEMA can provide relief soon as they were hit by the storm. Camila Williams takes us there.
Yeah, I own a machine shop, or did.
He's known for helping others. Now, Kite Councilman Kenneth Carroll needs help himself.
I'm supposed to be doing welding and fabrication and machining. I fix a lot of the farm equipment around here.
Working nonstop since the storm, Carroll is fixing generators for other families next to the city's water tower, which he checks too. He says after the storm, he and others have put in a lot of work.
It took 3 days to be able to get around to everyone. There's still roads that are closed.
Carroll hopes FEMA can give water and power to the city.
In the coming days, we'll also have a disaster recovery center where people can go and apply for assistance in person.
Jacqueline Rothenberg with FEMA says there will be disaster survivor assistance teams in each county helping people. She says FEMA has different types of individual assistance programs, like a serious needs one-time $750 payment, an immediate needs, and a displacement assistance.
If you are staying with a friend and sleeping on their couch instead of going to a hotel, we can reimburse you for that cost. If you're supporting your friend by ordering meals or food, we can help pay for that. We also have assistance for people that are underinsured.
Councilman Kenneth Carroll tells me that this tree that was in his backyard was over 200 years old. And after it fell on his shop, he's not sure how long it'll take to clean it up.
I mean, obviously you can see that my shop is completely demolished. It landed on my lathe. It crushed several pieces of equipment inside.
But he knows there is one man that will support him
God will provide.
as he continues to support others.
Amen.
In Kite, Camila Williams, 13 WMAZ News.
Amen.
Rothenberg says Georgians can apply for assistance online at disasterassistance.gov or call 1-861-3362. That number again, 1-861-3362. Councilman Carroll says Kite First Baptist Church is also providing meals to people in need.
All right, let's take a look.
And then there's this aspect of all of this, Sandra. Listen to this. The Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, is warning that FEMA does not have enough funding to make it through the rest of the hurricane season. But the department has hundreds of millions of dollars designated to support illegal migrants. Chad Pergram is live on Capitol Hill with this. Chad?
Before Chad says this, let me reiterate what he just said. They do not have enough money to get through hurricane season. Pay attention to that. The entire season. This is the very beginning, really, of hurricane season, right? Yeah, September, October. They don't have enough. Let that sink in.
John, good afternoon. Here's the conundrum. Republicans point to a man-made disaster like the border crisis having enough money, but the response to a natural disaster like Helene running low on cash. DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas says FEMA is fine for now.
We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
Congress infused FEMA with $20 billion for immediate disaster aid in last week's spending bill, but Helene will drain FEMA's reserves because it was so catastrophic. The hurricane season runs through the end of next month. Congress approved $640 million to help communities deal with an influx of illegal immigration. But money for the border and natural disasters come from different accounts.
We're so quick to forget things like the incidents in Maui or hurricanes here in Florida, or even the recent hurricane with Hurricane Helene that's impacted North Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia so much. But we'll focus and prioritize illegal criminal migrants as well as for borders 9,000 miles away.
Some lawmakers want Congress to give communities wrestling with the migrant crisis $3 billion next year. House Speaker Mike Johnson is mindful of more disaster funding this fall.
Congress will have to address it. I mean, this is an appropriate role for the federal government. But to your point, Steve, we have to prioritize federal spending. We have a $35 trillion federal debt. You got to take care of national defense. You have to handle federal emergencies.
Now, if you guys don't mind, please do us a big favor. Will you please just hit the like button? And if you don't like it, please just hit the dislike button. Any engagement right now means a lot to the channel. Thank you.
Expect Congress to reload FEMA with money, then provide additional funds to help with Helene. That's on top of money Congress likely spends on wildfires in Hawaii, Hurricane Beryl in Texas, and a typhoon on Guam. John?
And I'll tell you, they can't get relief to the folks fast enough. Chad Pergram for us. Chad, thank you.
I'm Steve Duke.
Well, as we heard there's no money. Basically, there's no money. There's not another way to say it. And you guys, here's the deal. There's got to be two situations here. Two situations. It's either they're wanting this to look this way so that, they can usher in Trump, who would definitely be able to fix a lot of the stuff that we're looking at right now. Let's just be fair. Let's just be honest. You don't have to like the man to see what's real. And then there could be somebody else waiting in the wings where Kamala Harris is concerned, because here's what I think. Even though it's next month, I'm not putting anything past the DNC, because if I had, we wouldn't be looking in the face right now of the way that they allowed her to basically pick up the pieces with everything that was going on with Biden. So I cannot say that, there's nothing that they can ever do. They can't change it. She's the person now. They didn't vote for her. The Democrats didn't vote for her. And yet here she is. They keep her quiet long enough so that she does not open up her mouth and say exactly what Marxist ideas she's got. And primarily that's the reason why they keep her quiet, because they know that the true feelings that she has about this country, this great land, this great nation, would most assuredly pop out of her mouth. Her absence at the border should tell each and every one of us exactly what she thinks of this place. Her commitment to the illegal migrants or immigrants, or in my opinion, illegal aliens. Okay, that's how I say it. Her commitment to making sure that she'll do everything within her power to assist them in their quest for citizenship, to the point of doing it exactly and immediately on her first day. It should tell us her level of commitment to the American people. And so therefore, yes, they want her to stay silent and they want her to stay quiet. However, they still want to make sure that they are allowing the American public that would vote for her to think it's their idea. And unfortunately, some of the things that we're looking at right now are letting them understand and know that that's not going to happen, because anybody with any semblance of sense can see this. And they were seeing it prior to Biden stepping out. They were seeing it prior to this, because I've spoken to several people, as I'm sure you've as well. There were several people that I know that were saying, yikes, man, I just don't know. This is hard. Financially, things are terrible. Oh, gosh, I didn't like Trump, but gee whiz, I think I liked it better when he was in. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a good question. That's a good question, Michael. It's a great question. And let's look at that. Okay. And where was Trump? Okay. You see? So here's the thing. The whole entire thing stinks. But the unfortunate piece is this is what we've got to choose from. Those two individuals are what we've got to choose, and that's not good. I will say that for the economy and for financial reasons, and as far as looking at a spreadsheet, Trump by himself, not people who'd be over him. Okay, because I know we're going to get a lot of people to talk, there's several people above the president and this and that. As far as looking at spreadsheets, you and I both know that hands down, he is, scores above Kamala. We know that. Okay, as far as looking at P&Ls, as far as looking at spreadsheets, he's, this is a corporation, he's handled corporate. We got all that. But the dangers in having her in office or even running is more of what we see right now. Why? Because we're in their administration. This is the important piece. This is their administration. These things are happening while they're at the helm. So what good can come of more of the same? Now, we're not going to look at it right now because we've already covered it 2 times here on the channel, and that's dealing specifically with the whole issue of our port here on the East Coast. Now, here's the thing. Nobody's asking this question. Nobody's asking this question, and that is, how did we get into such a state that these foreign groups of individuals have such a great hand in what goes on at that port? Don't you understand that your ports, your seas, your railway, and your air, those things should be by you and you alone as a nation, as a sovereign place? You and you alone should be the one that's in charge of that. But having allowed what we've allowed over the past few years is why we're where we are now. I have it on great authority that there were containers for the past few years leaving the United States filled to capacity, and those containers were coming back absolutely empty. And when they come back empty, they would go back out again filled to the brim. So while we were watching meat factories and meat plants and animals die in the middle of the, in the middle of the field and all the things that we've seen over the past few years, they were sending them out filled to capacity. They would come back in empty and they'd go back out again as if Christmas were on the other side of the shore. So what happened? Is any of this by accident? Did anybody see it coming, or was it designed? These are just questions. I don't have the answers. I'm posing them to you. Was it by design? These are the things that are dealing. This is what we're dealing with right now. All of this is what we're dealing with. And this is the exact same administration who's been at the helm. Ironically enough, though, they would like to keep everybody's mind focused on the big bad guy. The big bad guy, who may not even be the big bad guy. There's so many masks being worn up there. It's not funny. I don't even know who's in charge. Everybody, coming out saying, well, this one's going to happen and that one's going to get them and they're going to save the world and they're going to change. And this is going to come in. And then we got some white hats and then we got some orange hats and there's some other blue hats and then there's some red hats and there's some hats. All of these hats, all of them fall under one auspices for me. And that is the tinfoil fedoras, because I've seen none of the stuff that they've said happen. Everything is the opposite. Oh, they got rid of this one over here, right off of Florida's coast. They got rid of that one, and that one's gone. Okay, so who did it? Another a bigger, badder dude than them? Because if a bigger, badder dude did it, I believe it. I hope y'all following what I'm putting here. If it was a bigger, badder dude than the ones that they got rid of, I want to know who that big bad dude is, because didn't they already have them in their clutches? If everybody's saying, well, this one's gone because they were right outside of Florida and this one's zapped and this one left in 2012 and that one's gone in 2022. Man, bye. Bye with all of that. But nonetheless, the FEMA administration is basically saying that they don't have any money. FEMA says they don't have any money for the season, not just for Helene, for the season. And if that's for the season, then you can also imagine that if there's anything else that hits, it's going to be for that as well. So basically, if you don't have any more for the season, that means that you don't have anything in your stash. You don't have anything left in your stash, in your pocket, in your booty. There's nothing left. Do you guys hear that? Are we really grasping it? That if you don't have anything for the hurricane season, that means you have nothing for emergencies. My God, we should all get on the phone and call somebody in our state. How did we ever get to this point? And who said that they could loot? FEMA. Did anybody even know that they were taking the money from FEMA and giving it to the illegal aliens? Who gave the thumbs up on this? And don't tell me anything about Congress, because I've just about had it with Congress. I've had it with them, giving all these big fanfares and showing us all this other stuff. And, all we see is big conversations and stuff like that. We hear all the big conversations and the fancy words and the, them going back and forth with people arguing what's a woman and what's a man. And, we hear, well, why did you allow this? And the person never answers the question and they just go around in circle and then they get people to cut them up in shorts and then everybody goes, well, why don't they just answer the question? Why are we even watching it without asking the question? What in the hell are you guys going to do to fix that? Why are you all still talking about it? Why is Mayorkas still in office? Why didn't we go on out here and do what we did to Trump for this cat that's in office right now? Why didn't we even use 25? Why didn't we use the 25th Amendment? Why? We're not getting any answers. And I guarantee you that if we do not get any answers about any of the things that we just got through chatting about and more, that if we allow what's about to happen, my God, we deserve it. My God, if we don't make some changes and if we don't use our voices to say what we need to say to get it to the ears of those who need to listen to, or maybe we need to stop doing something just to prevent us from being able to see these people go and do what they're about to do, my God, what is left? I honestly, strongly feel, to be quite candid with you, my goodness, it just might be too late for us as a nation. Not as a people, because we know who we belong to, but as this nation, oh my goodness. I'm going to play something for you here because I want you guys to hear this. We're going to have to, let me put my banner back up because you guys are going to have to be able to hear it. We will not be able to show it. And you'll get it in a second, but I'm letting you know what it is that I'm doing and why I'm doing it prior to doing it. All right. So I want you to listen to this because you'll be able to hear it. I hope you'll be able to hear it. Hold on. Okay. Listen to this. Listen to this because this guy right here, homeboy wasn't joking. Homeboy wasn't kidding. He was serious. And let me make sure you can hear it. Let me come on over here so you guys can hear it. Yeah, you can hear it. Here it is. Want to hear it? Here it go.
Okay. Nobel Prize winning economist here to tell us how great the economy is. I certainly wonder how the residents of Asheville, North Carolina must be feeling right now with no access to power.
Hey, Hal, tell me if you can hear this. Please give me a 5x5 before I finish it because I don't want to run this whole thing and we not hear it. Somebody let me know that you can hear it. Could you hear what we just played? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Precious. Thank you, Michael. All right, here we go. Let's finish because you guys, let me lay this down for you. This is a man who goes in and he confronts Paul Krugman on the Helene response, the money going into Ukraine, and the economic crisis. And he stops them right in the middle of what they're saying. And this is what he says. Whoo, boy.
Or water, or communication.
Let's start it again. Let's start it again.
Okay. Nobel Prize winning economist here to tell us how great the economy is. I certainly wonder how the residents of Asheville, North Carolina must be feeling right now with no access to power or water or communication with the outside world. I wonder how enthusiastic they are about the economy right now. I wonder how enthusiastic the residents of the South Bronx must be feeling about the economy. Hey, maybe North Carolina should rename itself Israel so it'll get $20 billion in aid. Or maybe Ukraine so it can get $300 billion in aid. Maybe the South Bronx should do the same thing. I mean, I'm sure the economy is great for smug liberals like yourself who make $5 million and are worth $5 million. I'm sure the economy must be great.
Got to pause it right here to say that this is not the opinion. Got to play the game. This ain't the opinion of my chat or of the channel. We're just using this for commentary purposes. Wow, isn't this man amazing as he says these things in a public forum? Oh my goodness, he should be more respectful. Let's finish.
For all you smug journalists, economists, all of you must be having a great time with the economy when most people can't even pay for basic necessities, for people who are getting evicted because they can't pay their rent. Because over in the South Bronx, just a few miles away from here, there are portions of buildings that are literally collapsing. And I'm supposed to give a shit about the stock market. You want to know why the presidential election is tied right now? Because our money is being sent to Israel and you...
Oh my goodness, this guy is speaking so badly about Israel. He's terrible. He shouldn't say those things. Let's listen.
Ukraine, so that they can continue to bomb innocent women and children. You think that's a great economy? I'm sure Israel, with their free healthcare, is having a great time with American taxpayer money. Hey, is anyone here going to talk about the fact that we could be in war with Iran in a few days? Or do we need to focus on the S&P 500? Is that what actually matters?
Somebody should stop this man. He went into a public place while they were having a meeting, and he literally stood up and said all of these things. Isn't that terrible? He should not be allowed to say these things. These things are horrible. The things that he's saying about, about Israel, it's not nice at all. And I don't think he should have said it. Let's finish.
Matters. The S&P 500, when most people may not even be alive here in a few days, just because we're on the verge of nuclear war. Hey, listen to me, Mr. Krugman. Your degree is worthless. You might as well use it as paperweight because it means nothing. I hope you enjoy the dead children that the economy is powering. Our economy is definitely very powerful right now. All that stock market money goes to the military complex so that more innocent women and children are dead.
Undoubtedly, this is the kind of person that Hillary Clinton was speaking about in the articles that we read at the top of the show. These are the kind of individuals that Hillary Clinton was talking about. They get incensed with all of this stuff that comes from social media and they run with it. Let's finish.
And fuck off with the New York Times, the liberal apologists for war and genocide. You all fucking suck. People need to wake up right now, and we need to have peace. We can work with China. We can work with Russia. We don't need to start war with Iran. All right, I'm moving.
Oh my goodness. Where is that man? Where, oh, where? Where, oh, where? Well, I think we've heard enough, and I think nothing can top that. How could we ever top it? I don't think we could. But let's just leave this here for everybody. We in trouble if we don't do something. So now we've looked at what Hillary Clinton could have been talking about as it relates to the October surprise, and I submit to you that it ain't that. Or that she threw that out there so that people could run closer to her mentee. Either way it goes, you let me know what you think down below in the comments, and let me know what you think here. We're going to close it out now at about an hour because we don't want to belabor the time, but I appreciate each and every one of you for being here with us today. Thank you for hanging out. Remember what I always tell you, and that is take care of yourself. Obviously, no one else will. No one else will, because you and I both know that everybody calls you in the time of an emergency. You the one. You're the one they always call. Trust and believe it. And I don't know. Go get you some barbecue sauce. Peace. Hey everyone, it's me, Felicia, of the Lockhart Perspective and Headlines with a Voice. I want to tell you a little secret. This is what I used to do because I don't do it anymore. I would go to the store, buy the barbecue sauce, pour it inside of a bowl, put a whole bunch of different spices, a dash of brown sugar, a dash of maple, and a dash of mustard, stir it all around, and everybody would be like, oh my gosh, this is the best, this is the best. But I was exhausted after all of that, and a lot of times I couldn't remember how many dashes of what I put in it. But I don't have to do that anymore because now I just go to Judge Joe Brown's website and I order his 3-pack of bottled barbecue sauce. It is by far the best, and I do mean the best barbecue sauce I've ever eaten. And when you go to his website and you order his 3-pack, you'll see exactly what I mean. Head on over to jjbbbbq.com and order Judge Joe Brown's barbecue sauce.
With tomorrow's news today, this is Headlines with a Voice.